All right. I think we are live. Yeah. All right. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at writing task 2, and we'll be discussing about this particular essay. So I'm just checking my audio right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at right. All right. Let's just check if everything is okay on my screen. Right, great. Everything looks fine, so I think we can. I think we can start. Yeah. Yep. There you go. Just set up the chat. Where's the chat? Starts chat. Sha-ta-ta-ta-ta. Stop it right here. Okay. So, writing task 2. Welcome everyone. We're just going to look at, we are just looking at writing task 2, sample writing. Now, in terms of the, what should I say? In terms of the, I don't know what happened again. The stream. Stream's bitrate is low. Refresh. Anyways, let's get started. So, yeah. So today I'm going to focus on task 2, and this is a response that I got from one of my students. So I'm just going to go over this very quickly, about 30 minutes or so. It's going to be a very short stream. Right, so the question says, sorry, just give me 1 second. I just have to fix some things. All right, here we go. So we're going to, this is a response that I got from one of my students, and he sent me this. He says, the question, let's go over the question first. I hope everyone can see what's written, the questions and stuff. So many species of animals all around the world are on the verge of extinction. Some say countries and individuals should protect these animals from dying out, while others, so it says while, so I'm guessing this is discuss both viewpoints, right? So some people say that countries and individuals should protect these animals from dying out. So the first question, or let's say the first point of first point that we should be keeping an eye out for is, of course, what is the question about. So the first thing is about animals being on the verge of extinction, and then some people think that they should protect these animals from extinction, from dying out, and the second bunch of people who think that we should concentrate more on the problems of human beings instead of the animals. So we have to discuss both of these viewpoints and give our opinion. Right, now these kind of questions can be a bit tricky to kind of like these type of questions can be a bit tricky for the candidates who generally take the test. The simple reason being, many people think that many people focus on the fact that they only talk about one particular point of view. However, just because they ask you to give an opinion, and that you have to support one of the opinions, doesn't mean you only talk about that. You have to equally talk about both of the topics themselves, right? So it's not only that you have to only talk about one, despite the fact that you might have to, you have to support one. It does not mean that you have to only focus on one, because then it'll be a task response error. Abdul Qadir says, how to generate ideas? We don't have any good topic to think about the question. It depends, Abdul. There are quite a few things that you could do. I think one of the best things that I like to do is something called a spider diagram. And what it focuses on is basically on the aspects of the different aspects of a particular topic, right? So I could go into much more details about that, but I have to kind of like do this first, and then maybe we could talk about that, yeah? Or I could, you could subscribe and I could make a video on it and you can have a look at it, yeah? So as of now, I'll just go back to this. Otherwise, we'll get sidetracked. We'll go on a tangent here. Right, so I digress. So yeah, the question is about extinction of animals. And then there's a group of people who think that you should be protecting these animals. And then there are some people who think that human beings, the problems that human beings have, that's more important to focus on. Okay, let's see what this person has written. Species around the globe are on the verge of extinction in numbers, right? Now, this is good. I think they have talked about the topic well, but something that I immediately noticed is that this bit right here is an exact copy. Right, this is an exact copy. So this leads to a bit of a problem here. Now, of course, I understand that, when you're trying to say something in your own words, paraphrasing, sometimes it can so happen that you might not exactly come up with the word that you are trying to look for. However, copying an expression directly from the question can backfire, and it can lower your LR scores, right? So what you ideally want to do is try to say this in your own words, and if you are having trouble with specifically having trouble with coming up with a word, you can explain that stuff, right? Or go into a bit more detail about that particular topic. So let's say verge of extinction, maybe let's say, for example, they have paraphrased it here as, let's say, dying out. So instead of verge of extinction, you could have said something like, species around the globe, there are many species around the globe are, facing the threat of extinction, right? So you could say something like that, verge of extinction, facing the threat of extinction. So some people are concerned. This is supposed to be concerned. So let's make that red. Some people are concerned about their protection, whereas others mainly focused, or others are mainly focused. I'm not sure. Others are mainly focused, I believe. So then let's mark this as a problem. Grammatical issues. On the problem of human beings, in my view, we should concentrate. All right, this is a spelling error. Concentrate on human problems. However, protect the wildlife is more significant. All right, protect the wildlife. Protecting the wildlife is more significant. Right, now of course, instantly, as you can see, this person understands what the question is. This person knows exactly how to approach the question. However, the issue is that this person has some problems or trouble in terms of the sentences or writing the sentences themselves. So this is a GRA issue, right? So this paragraph could have been, it looks pretty good, right? However, this paragraph could have been, or the introductory paragraph could have been a lot better if the sentences would have, had less grammatical errors, right? All right, so let's move on. So in the first paragraph, he says, every nation's, okay, every nation, or he could have put an apostrophe there, every nation apostrophe s, every nations, and the citizens should protect the wildlife animals because of the balance in ecosystem, balance in the ecosystem, because we're talking about the specific ecosystem of a certain specific context. And clean environment, because of the balance in ecosystem and clean environment. I don't particularly understand what's the balance in the clean environment. Remember, when you're writing about the balance in something and something, so these two elements are parallel, and these two elements should be in parallel, right? There should be an aspect of parallelism here. Parallelism of language or sentence structure. So because of balance in ecosystem, okay, that is fine. But I don't understand, what do you mean by balance of clean environment? Because when I read this line, I basically think about, oh, okay, balance in ecosystem, absolutely fantastic. And then balance in clean environment doesn't really make a lot of sense. I hope you guys understand what you mean. So clean environment goes red. Species of animals around the world maintain and balance the ecosystem, okay? The diversity of animals keep the environment clean. Okay, so he makes two claims here. Species of animals around the world maintain the balance, maintain and balance the ecosystem. Okay, the diversity of animals keeps the environment clean. All right, now I do understand what he's trying to do here, but again, he's repeating these two things, and basically this is a repetition. Yeah, you would ideally want to avoid these sort of repetitions, right? You'd ideally want to avoid these sort of repetitions. Now, these are basically repetition of ideas. What you would ideally want to do is that maybe you can talk about, you could have said, you could have added a linking word here, and that would have made it a lot easier to understand. The flow would have been a lot better. A lot better. For example, maintain the balance and the diversity of animals keep the environment clean. For example, some birds eat the waste foods and prevent the cities from pollution. These are the main reasons of people who believe. Okay, yeah, this is fine. As a concluding statement, this might be a reasonably good answer, I would say. Right, reasonably good answer. But the problem is the coherence and cohesion here doesn't really make sense, because this bit and this, I mean, this line and this line is basically just a repetition or an extension of this. It's not an explanation of this, rather a repetition of this. So you see this line, which is, don't get me wrong, this is a very good, or this is an appropriate a topic sentence. However, these two lines, the following two lines, they should have expanded on this question, this statement. The topic sentence should have expanded upon it instead of restating the same thing. So this is a coherence and cohesion issue, right? There's no new information, pieces of information being added here. Rather, it's just the same thing being written down. Okay, and even in terms of the example only talks about this. And interestingly enough, there are two separate ideas, right? And he only talks about some birds. Yeah, so this paragraph, despite the fact that it started off really, really strongly, the subsequent ideas are a bit of a problem here, right? It's a bit of a problem because it doesn't really have a good flow to it. So ideally, whenever you are constructing a paragraph, the construction of the paragraph should be as such that every single sentence should be connected to one another, and they should have one single idea exploring themselves. Like, they should be exploring only one particular idea. He could have just talked about one idea and that would have been fine, right? Because you would always want to talk about only one idea. You don't have to juggle between multiple ideas. You should not juggle, or you should not write multiple ideas in one paragraph, because that's not how paragraphs work. So paragraphs only work, and paragraphs work such as, like, the fact that you only write one idea, you only explore one idea. So here, if this person would have only talked about, you know, balance in the ecosystem, I think that would have been much more appropriate. He could have explained everything regarding the balance in the ecosystem instead of juggling between these two things, right? Right. So let's go to the next paragraph. However, good. So he starts off with a linking word or a connecting word, which shows that this paragraph is going to be a contradiction to this paragraph. So that's good. That's good. However, some people are more concerned about human problems. Lack of consciousness among the people about environmental literacy and benefits of wildlife are two major factors of their thinking. Okay. Already, this line becomes a problem. You know why? You know why this line becomes a problem? Because this particular point of view says, where is it? Yeah. Concentrate more on the problems of the humans. So here in this paragraph, you should have focused more on the fact that instead of focusing on surviving, instead of focusing on the fact that they should be protecting animals, he should have focused on the fact that the legitimacy of the thought of those other groups of people, that it is more important to think about the problems of the humans instead of the animals. Not say, why is it a problem, or why thinking about this is a problem. No. So he clearly misunderstood the topic, and he clearly misunderstood what he has to write, and that has become a problem here. As a result, This is a task response issue. I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about, yeah. See, most of the people are not conscious about the environmental sustainability and literacy also. As a result, they use and kill the importance species. Okay, so this is going to be important species. Again, I don't know what important species means. It's awkward phrasing. So around the world, also lots of people do not know the benefits of the wildlife. Yeah, see, exactly. So the whole thing, this paragraph is a very well constructed paragraph. I would say, even if it's not a very well constructed paragraph, it's a decently well constructed paragraph. It's a good, well contained. It's a well contained paragraph, right? My voice is low. It's becoming hard to listen. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just increase my gain there. I hope it's better now. Hopefully. Also, let me check my input. Properties. Yeah. I hope it's better now. Right. So, yeah, like I was saying, like this paragraph is a very well constructed paragraph. Right, but imagine if this paragraph was talking about, or if this paragraph was about, or the topic was about why people misunderstand it, then would have been a very good paragraph by itself. Right. However, the issue is the fact that this paragraph should not talk about this. Right? This should not talk about this. It should talk about the legitimacy or this idea independently, that, yeah, focus on human problems. Right? So that is a missed opportunity on this person's behalf, despite the fact, again, this is a very well constructed, again, not even if it's not a very well constructed paragraph, is a decently well constructed paragraph. So this is a missed opportunity on this person's behalf. So where he only talks about why those people think like that. Right? In essence, this is an extension of the first paragraph, unfortunately. But this person has written it well in that sense. For instance, in Bangladesh, most of the villagers do not know the benefits of, I would say, of snakes. Benefits of snakes. They kills, all right, this person clearly has a problem with subject-verb agreement. Made some errors here as well. They kill the non-poisonous snakes because of illiteracy. Again, spelling error. Okay. Some people want to more focused on human problems, maybe for these reasons. Right, now see this line. This line kind of shows that he is not really very sure about what he has to write, or how he should talk about this. He could have simply said, these are the reasons why people feel that human problems are needed to be focused on more. That was more direct. But this last line, it could have been a very good, at least he has put a concluding line, but it's a bit iffy. The line is very iffy. It shows that he's not very confident about his concluding statement. He could have clearly said, these are the reasons, or this is the reason why people think that it's more important to focus on human problems. But he says some people want to more focus on human problems, maybe for these reasons. Maybe no maybes, right? We generally try to avoid any sort of what should I say? We generally try to avoid any sort of confusing, not even confusing. What's the word? I forgot. something that creates shows unsurety, right? So no, don't do that. Be very sure about what you have to write. Yeah, have a point of view and state it clearly. I think that's more important here. So yeah, and again, for some reason, some people want to be more focused on human problems. Some people want to be, yeah, that's the word that's missing here. Want to be more focused on human maybe problems. Okay, good. All right, so that's that. Animals are dying out day by day. We have to focus on human problems, but saving the animals from extinction is more important. Good. Again, a good enough conclusion, I would say, but it's a tad bit short, I would say. So generally for the conclusion, what you would ideally want to do is summarize the main ideas, right? So in this case, he should have talked about the ideas, or the idea that he talks about it here, and what he says here. So he should have summarized this. So for example, he should have added a line, is more important as idea 1 and idea 2. Right? You should have said that. Right? Conclusion is basically just summarizing the main ideas, or summarizing the ideas which you explore in body 1, body 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, doesn't really matter how many paragraphs you write. I mean, of course, depending on what you're writing. So instead, what he does is he just leaves it up till here. He puts a period here instead of talking about, let me just put this in brackets. So instead of talking about rephrasing, reinstating his ideas, all he does is he talks about the problem, and then leaves it with his, or he signs off with his opinion. He doesn't really give any reinterpretations of, or reinstates. He doesn't really say anything about his ideas. He doesn't explain his ideas. So what you'd ideally want to think of the introduction and the conclusion is, it's like an outline of your entire essay, right? So someone reads your introduction or your conclusion, they should have a clear idea. Yeah, this is how I generally put it, makes a lot more sense. So an introduction and conclusion must have if you're reading, you as a reader, right? Not as the examiner, you as a reader. If you're writing the introduction and the conclusion, you would ideally want to have the following elements. Number 1, what is the question? I mean, what is the essay about? Someone reads your essay. What is it about? So you ideally want to talk about the question first. The second thing that you would want to have is, of course, if you have any opinion about it or not, right? If they're asking you about an opinion. So what opinion do you have about the question? If you have one, of course, or if they're asking you to state one. And the second thing, of course, you're writing something, so of course you'll have an opinion about it, but again, depends. And the second thing is, why do you have the opinions that you do? Right? Why do you have the opinions that you do? So you would ideally have the question. What do you have to say about the question? Right? So let's say, for example, the question is, animals are dying and you should be focusing on saving them. So you say, so this essay, or many people think that, animals are dying. And I think, or in my opinion, I reckon that it is very important to save animals. Okay, because yada yada yada, because well, it's very important to save animals because of the environment and blah 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 blah. And there you go, boom, your introduction is done. So you have your question, you have your what, and you have your whys. And there you go. You have your introduction and conclusion as well. And, basically these two things are the same thing. The introduction and the conclusion is basically the same thing. It can be interchanged. I mean, if you put it here, you can absolutely do so, and there would be no problem whatsoever, right? And that's how you know you have written a good introduction and a conclusion, or a consistent introduction and a conclusion. So this person generally has written a good essay. However, the problem, I would say, is the fact that he misunderstood the second point of view, which is this one, right? Which is this one. Instead of talking about why he should, or why people should be focusing on, or why people think that concentrating on human problems are more important, he really talks about why, why people are ignorant about it, right? So, which is not exactly what the question is about. So he doesn't really get, or he doesn't really do very well in terms of task response. So he partially understands this, he's partially right, and he does provide some good ideas on it. So he would get, I would believe that he gets about a 6. Now, of course, we can be more, we could be more, I don't know, we could be more, scrutinize a little bit more. We could pull out the big guns like the band descriptors and stuff, but as far as my memory serves, 6 is where you have a basic idea, understanding of the question, and you explain it somewhat well, and then there are some aspects of the question which you misunderstand. So that's for task response. In terms of your coherence and cohesion, again, I think this person has generally understood the question, and as a result, this person has maintained some flow, but there were some very abrupt changes of ideas, like for example this bit right here. Again, this part had a really, I would say, big flow, but again, he didn't really use a lot of linking words. I would say here is one example, here is one example. So this is good. Here is another example. So I would say a CC would be about 6 to 7, I would say. But I would not give them the benefit of the doubt. I would give them, I would actually, you know what, I'd give them a 7. In terms of GRA, most of the sentences that he writes are good. He does show some good control of language. Right, he can use some different types of sentences as well. For example, he uses some sentences with and. He does show some awareness of using good punctuation. Right, here doesn't really miss a lot of punctuations here. That's good. I would have given this person 7 here. About a 6 to 7, depends. And the last bit is LR. In terms of LR, I would say this would come to about a 5 or a 6. I would give this person a 6, because this person does show some good understanding. For example, the word consciousness, environmental literacy, sustainability. Although see here are some examples of awkward phrasings and weird word choices, right? So I would say a good 6 right here. So overall, this person would expect to get anywhere between a 6 to a 6.5. Now again, like I said, the CC could be 6. right? A 6 or a 7. Also GRA could be a 6 or a 7. So based on that, it could be a 6 to a 6.5. Now, I think the way this person could have improved this piece of writing is simply by improving their language a little bit, of course, sentences. But at the same time, if this person would have written it, if this person would have given good ideas and written it more clearly, this would have jumped up a lot, right? This would have jumped up. Like this would have gone to a 7. This would have been a definitive 7. This would have been a definitive 7. Even if this was 6, you would have still gotten a 6, 6.5 or a 7. So yeah. But anyways, so I hope this was helpful. And I would be doing this a lot more. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comment section, and we will be starting some more live sessions like this in the future, where I go over some other some other aspects, like analyzing speaking sessions and stuff like that. So that would be helpful for you guys as well. So I hope this again, this session was helpful. If you think this was helpful, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. And also at the same time, we'll be talking about, I'll be doing a live stream or maybe a video about, IELTS training, how you should approach IELTS training, and maybe that'll help you out a lot more, right? So yeah, so that's about it, guys. Have a good night or evening, morning, wherever you are tuning in from. Have a good day, and see you guys